If you've got a groundbreaking medical device, you know that getting it to market can feel like an absolutely impossible quest. Well, today, we're going to tackle one of the biggest hurdles out there, the EU's Medical Device Regulation, or MDR. And we're going to do it by following a hypothetical company we're calling Alpha Labs, as they navigate this gauntlet step by step. So let's start here. You've poured your heart and soul into developing a device that you just know can change lives. The real question is, how do you get it into the hands of the people who need it most? And maybe more to the point, how do you break into one of the largest, most advanced healthcare markets on the planet? Exactly. That's the goal for our company, Alpha Labs. They're aiming for the European market. But to reach those 450 million people, they first have to conquer a really formidable challenge, the EU MDR. We're calling this first part the EU MDR gauntlet. Now, that might sound a little intimidating, but at its heart, this regulation isn't really about creating barriers. Think of it more as a quest designed to make sure every single device is built on a solid foundation of quality and, most importantly, patient safety. This one line from the regulation pretty much sums up the entire philosophy. Every document Alpha Labs is going to file, every test they run, it all comes back to this one core principle, meeting incredibly high standards of quality and safety. It's the why behind all the work. So how does a company like Alpha Labs even begin a journey like this? Well, like any great quest, it all starts with preparation. You can't just charge in. You have to understand the landscape and gather the right gear before you even think about taking those first steps. First up, Alpha Labs has to confirm that their product is actually a medical device under EU law. And you know what? The definition is a lot broader than you might think. We're not just talking about physical hardware here. As Recital 19 makes crystal clear, standalone software like a diagnostic app on your phone also qualifies if it has a medical purpose. That is a critical distinction for innovators today. Next, they have to figure out just how difficult their path is going to be. See, the MDR classifies devices into 4 risk classes, all the way from Class I, which is the lowest risk, up to Class 3, the highest. This classification is going to dictate the rigor of every single step that follows. It's all based on what the device is for and how much harm it could potentially cause. Okay, so getting these first few steps right is completely non-negotiable. First, they classify their device's risk level. Second, they have to build a quality management system, or QMS. Think of this as the company's official rulebook for building a safe product every single time. And third, they appoint a PRPC. That's an internal expert whose entire job is to make sure every single rule is followed to the letter. All right, with all that preparation complete, Alpha Labs is finally ready to face the core trials. This is the main event. It's where they prove their device is worthy of the ultimate prize, the CE mark of conformity. The first major trial is creating what's called the technical documentation. You should really think of this as the device's complete biography. It's an exhaustive file that details absolutely everything, from design schematics and benefit risk analysis to all the data from testing and clinical evaluation. Nothing, and I mean nothing, gets left out. And that brings us to a really critical piece of the puzzle, the clinical evaluation. Now, this isn't just some one-time report you file and forget. The regulation is very specific. It's a continuous process. Alpha Labs has to be constantly gathering and analyzing clinical data to prove their device is safe, performs exactly as intended, and actually provides real clinical benefits. Now, the good news is Alpha Labs doesn't have to walk this path alone. They need a guide, and that guide is called a notified body. This is an independent organization designated by an EU country that basically acts as a referee. Alpha Labs does all the work, preparing docs, building systems. The notified body then comes in to audit and assess all that work to decide if they've earned their certificate. So, after successfully navigating all those audits and assessments, Alpha Labs finally reaches the climax of their quest. They've proven their device meets the EU's incredibly high standards, and now they get their reward. And here it is, the CE mark. This is not just a logo, it's a declaration. It tells regulators, healthcare professionals, and patients that Alpha Labs' device complies with the fundamental safety and performance requirements of the European Union. This little symbol is the key that unlocks the entire market. But wait, the quest isn't quite over yet. With that CE mark secured, the device now needs a passport. And that passport is the Unique Device Identifier, or UDI. This code allows a specific device to be tracked without any ambiguity all the way from the factory to the patient. And for safety, that is absolutely crucial. Okay, the final hurdle before any sales can actually begin is registration. Alpha Labs has to upload information about their company and their new UDI tag device into a big central database called UDIMED. This system provides transparency for the public, and it allows regulators to conduct really effective market oversight. So, the device is on the market. Quest complete, right? Time to celebrate? Well, not exactly. You see, getting the CE mark isn't the end of the journey. It's actually the beginning of a lifelong commitment, something we're calling the Vigilant Watch. The key word to burn into your brain here is proactive. Post-market surveillance isn't about sitting back and waiting for something to go wrong. It's a systematic process of actively collecting and reviewing real-world data to spot potential problems before they can escalate. This whole thing creates a continuous feedback loop. Alpha Labs has to constantly collect data, analyze it for any potential issues, and then immediately apply any corrective actions. This makes sure the device doesn't just start safe, it stays safe. Part of this vigilant watch is knowing the difference between an incident and a serious incident, because the distinction is critical. An incident is pretty much any malfunction or performance issue. But a serious incident, as the regulation defines it, is one that either did lead or could have led to severe harm, death, or a public health threat. And if a serious incident does occur, a very clear protocol kicks into gear. Alpha Labs must immediately report it, investigate the root cause, take corrective action, and notify every single user. This isn't optional. It's a fundamental part of their license to operate in the EU. And this really gets to the heart of the MDR's entire philosophy. All of these post-market activities are designed for one reason: to ensure that the device's benefits continue to outweigh its risks for its entire life cycle, from the first patient to the last. We'll close with this quote from Article 10, because it really is the manufacturer's pledge. It's the promise that from the very first design sketch to the last device sold, the manufacturer is responsible for ensuring it was built to meet the high standards of this regulation. So, Alpha Labs completed their quest, but their vigilant watch never, ever ends. The journey through the MDR is demanding, for sure, but it leads to a market of 450 million people who are protected by one of the highest safety standards in the world. So the only question left to ask is this: is your device ready for the journey?